Hi folks, my name is Mr. Kuchak and I am your art teacher. Before we begin, let me go over our class rules. We have 3 rules at Elk Lake. Be ready, be responsible, be respectful. We are ready in the art room when we come in, sit in our assigned seats, and get quiet so that we can learn about art. We are responsible in the art room when we follow directions and take care of our supplies, and we clean up any of our messes. We are respectful when we use kind words like please and thank you, and when we value other students' artwork. Supplies you will need for today's lesson. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Hi folks, today we are going to be going over a Crayon Resist. So a Crayon Resist uses crayons and watercolors, but first we start off with a drawing for our watercolors. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw out a barn. So I'm going to start with the letter A. Once I have my letter A, then I pick this side the way it's going diagonally. I don't want this far side, I just want that part of the A. And I can even use my hand, and if I slide it all the way down like that, the same way, you can see the same shape that I need. So I just need that. I don't need to come down and make the other A, because that part's not going to be seen. So I have my A, and then I have half an A. And now I connect. I connect the top to the top, the bottom to the bottom. Next, I'm going to pick a different color, and I'm going to do the legs of the barn. So this first one is the longest leg. It comes really far down. The next one is going to be a shorter leg. Short, short. Now the trick here is you don't have to come way down and connect. You just diagonally. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go to the middle. That's one half. I'm going to go to the middle. Then I have my second half. Now I can add things like my barn door. I can add things like a hayloft. And the trick here is, notice I'm not coloring everything in. I'm just using my crayons for my line drawing. Next I'm going to use some white. And I'm going to add some details. So I may want to do some lines to make it look like it's a board and batten type barn. That means it has boards that come straight up and down. You might want to make it look like a metal roof, and the white will be great for that. Now I want to put some ground on it. If I put ground underneath it, it's going to look like the barn got scared and it jumped up into the air. So I don't want my floating barn. I just want to do some ground. So the trick here is to put ground behind it. So if the ground is already like halfway there, then it looks like it's sitting on the ground. Next, I can add in a road. And once again, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add some stones or some rocks for a path in my barn. So I'm just adding some circles, some ovals inside there to fill up that space. Now that I have ground, I know where my sky is. And that's where I'm also going to take my white crayon and I'm going to draw out some big clouds in there. I'm going to do 3 clouds. Last but not least, I'm going to do some flowers. So I'm going to take, let's find a nice bright color. Nice bright color. And I'm going to do a little squiggly circle. Little squiggly circle. And I'm going to come down and around, down and around for my leaves. Now that I have everything drawn out the way that I want, now I can start working on the painting part. Now with the paint, you need to make sure, because these are watercolors, that you're going into your water every single time. So every time you pick your brush up off of the paper, you need to go into the water. Also, we shouldn't hear this. If you're tapping your brush, that means you're drawing out the brush and water is going all over your table and going all over the place. You don't need to do that. They're little drips of water. We just want them in the right spot. Now, what I'm doing is I'm adding water into these little circles here, and these are called paint wells. So a well is where you get water from. So we don't have any water in there, so I have to add some water into my well. And all I'm doing is I'm just adding a few drops of water into each one so that it starts making paint. Notice I'm not trying to flood my entire container. I'm not trying to get paint in every single thing. I'm just adding my paint, and then I'm just letting it wait a little bit. You have to have a little bit of patience here because the water goes into the paint and it starts eating up the paint, and then it makes paint for you. Now, an easy way to remember the order of kind of operations when you're painting is these are watercolor paints. Water, touch your color, and then you can paint. So watercolor paint tells you exactly how to go about doing this. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work in my sky, and I'm going to try to find those clouds because I did those clouds in white. The Crayon Resist will stop the paint from touching the paper. So whatever color crayon you have in there, it will stay that way. To resist something means to stop. So the crayon is stopping the paint from touching the paper. So I'm going to pick up lots of water, and then all I do is I just come right across my paint, and then I paint. So watercolor paint. And I'm just using a mopping technique. I'm just mopping it around, trying to find out where is that cloud, and I'm starting to find it. So I pick up more water, I go into my paint, and then I move it around. If you're scooping up paint, or if you're drilling down into the middle of your paint, you're ruining your paints. Your brush will get ruined too because you are scooping up and you are drying out your brush, and all of that paint is going to be stuck in your brush. It's not going to be very easy to clean. Really thick, goopy watercolors never really dry. So you want to make sure that you're using water. If you have a lot of, let's say I forgot one time and I went in and I have all of this paint now that's on there like this, that is super goopy and it's not going to dry. There's a way you can solve that. Just go in for your water now. And if you go into your water, then you can move that around and then you can make it happen. But notice if the paint is so thick, it'll actually cover up some of that crayon even though it's trying to resist it. So I'm going to pick up some more water and I'm just going to move that around until I find my crayon again. There it is. It was hiding on this. And that way now I have my watercolors ready to go. Next, I'm going to pick up some paint and I'm going to do the roof. And I'm going to come in here and there's all the white spots for my roof. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pick up some of my brown and I'm going to go on the sides. And once again, I can find all of those spots by just mopping my paint around. There's lots of paint in there, so I can even go back in and just pick up some paint and move it to a little spot so that I don't have to keep wasting all of my paint. I'm going to go into my water, I'm going to touch my color, and then I'm going to paint. Watercolor paint is an easy way to remember. You go into your water every time. Let's see what color I want there. Let's take a little bit of that. We'll go in there, a little bit of color in there. Let's find some green. Put it in there. And then I'm going to take some green. I'm going to put some green there, but then I'm going to go in, pick up some water, some yellow, and I'm going to make that into a lighter green so that I can mop that all around my flower. So once again, I'm going to pick up some of that yellow. I'm going to mop that around, pick up a tiny little bit of green. And then that way, we have our picture all done. When you're done, just let your paints dry. If you try to pick them up and move them, that paint's going to go all over the place. So just let it sit there. You can just gently close the top, but don't pick it up because you don't want to spill paint all over the place. Clean up for your water and your brush. Your brush, as long as you kind of wash it around in there, it's pretty much clean. You can just put that on top of your paints, and with your water, just dump it down the sink. Just watch you don't splash it, or have an adult carry it over to the sink so that you don't spill it across the floor. Any mess that you make on your table or any mess that you make, please make sure you clean it up. Take a paper towel, take a napkin, and wipe up anything that you might have spilled. Your paper, just put it on the side so that it can dry. If you put it nice and flat, hopefully it won't wrinkle too much for you. Sometimes watercolors like to wrinkle though, and that's just part of the process. So I hope you have a good time with your watercolors. Can't wait to see what you make. Have a great day, everybody.